Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Spontaneous. This movie tells the story of two students who struggle to survive in a world where their friends suddenly explode and die. Will they also explode like their friends? Let's unfold the story in Spontaneous. Spontaneous started when all the senior high school students were taking calculus lessons in class. A student named Mara then bent down to pick up something that had fallen. Then suddenly another student sitting right in front of her exploded mysteriously until her blood spurted throughout the classroom and splashed her friends. Everyone screamed hysterically and ran out of the classroom, except for Mara, who was still sitting where she was, wondering what had happened. After finally being out of class, Mara is visited by Tess, who is very worried about her condition. Teaching and learning activities were finally stopped and the police began to arrive to secure the crime scene and conduct an investigation. The forensic team collects evidence at the scene, while the police interrogate the students who were witnesses in the incident that mysteriously killed their friend, Caitlin. The students were asked to submit their clothes and belongings as evidence, and they were collected in a special room. After that, Mara and her friends attended Caitlin's funeral and held a special event to remember her as a form of sympathy and condolences for the death of their classmate. That evening, when Mara and Tess were in a restaurant, a young man came to their table. The young man is Dylan, who turns out to be Mara's classmate and secretly likes her. Dylan ventured over to Mara after eavesdropping on her, saying that Caitlin might be a deadly plague. Mara was a bit surprised that someone was taking her joke seriously. She then took Dylan to the toilet. Dylan smiled because he thought Mara wanted to do something intimate with him. However, Mara turned out to be sick and vomited in the toilet. She also hallucinated afterward. She then thought that all of that was just the effect of the mushrooms she ate. Mara and Dylan's relationship is getting closer. Dylan told Mara that after the terrible incident to Caitlin, he started thinking about his life and how quickly life ended. After hearing Mara say that it could be an epidemic that would happen again, Dylan finally decided to live his life as well as possible. Mara was amazed to hear Dylan's story. A few days later, Mara and Dylan watch a baseball game between their school's baseball team against a team from another school. But during the game, suddenly one of the baseball team members from their school exploded like Caitlin. Suddenly the incident made people panic and rushed out of the stadium to save themselves. It turns out that the exploding student is named Perry, who is also Mara's classmate. Because the mysterious explosion occurred repeatedly, the school finally stopped all teaching and learning activities indefinitely and will contact the parents for more information. Although the teachers and guardians were worried about the condition of all the students after the two terrible incidents that happened to their friend, the students didn't seem to take the matter seriously. They kept partying and drinking as if nothing had happened, until the incident happened again. Mara and Dylan were avoiding the crowds of a party by strolling in the garden when they saw their friends running outside in a panic. Once inside, it turned out to be one of the students in their class. Because the mysterious explosion kept repeating itself, the students referred to it as the Covington Curse. The incident then attracted the attention of the FBI, who had assigned an agent named Carla to handle the incident at the school. Carla then calls Mara and Tess as they are eyewitnesses to all three mysterious explosion incidents at their school. Carla then enlists the help of the mess to help with the FBI investigation. Suspecting the possible involvement of illegal drugs in the incident, Mara visits Joe and Jenna, who are school dealers. They then drove to Tess's house. Mara didn't forget to tell Dylan to follow her to Tess's house. But in the middle of the trip, Joe and Jenna exploded mysteriously, causing the car that Mara was riding in an accident. Dylan, who was following Mara, found Joe and Jenna's car overturned on the road. He tried to find the whereabouts of Mara around the car. He then saw the marks of someone's hand on a large rock, which he believed belonged to Mara. Dylan then followed the trail of drops of blood into the forest, until finally he found Mara in the river to clean herself from Joe and Jenna's blood that was splattering on her body. Dylan immediately hugged her tightly, very grateful that she was okay. But the touching meeting of them did not last long. While they were warming themselves by the river, suddenly federal agents wearing full personal protective equipment surrounded them, then forcibly pulled them apart. Moments later, Mara wakes up and realizes she is undergoing a medical examination somewhere. A doctor named Rolanda approached her and said that she was in a special quarantine location that was deliberately built by the government to deal with the mysterious explosion incident. In the cubicle next to her, Dylan was seen, who was also undergoing an examination. All of Mara's classmates were taken to a quarantine location to undergo a medical examination and also an interview session regarding the tragic incident that had killed their friends. The students will be checked regularly and the medical team will analyze the content of substances in their bodies that may be the cause of the mysterious explosion incident. The students went about their days as usual. Although there is plenty of entertainment to overcome boredom during quarantine, Mara and her friends still feel bored because they are used to living freely by doing everything they want without feeling watched or suspected. After a while, one of the medical team representatives informed the students that the medical team would continue to do their best to cure the students. Therefore, the quarantine process will continue indefinitely. Not only that, according to the results of the FBI investigation, the mysterious explosion incident did not occur in other schools and only happened at their school. Then in the middle of the meeting, a student suddenly exploded. The mysterious incident immediately sparked the entire country's attention and made parents even more afraid and worried about their children. At the quarantine location, the mysterious explosion incident continued to hit the students who were there. On the other hand, the medical team is trying hard to find the origin of this deadly plague to quickly find a drug that can cure the students. After doing in-depth research and testing several drugs, finally the medical team began to find a bright spot. Incidents of mysterious explosions began to decrease after the students drank the blue pills. After undergoing a thorough medical examination and showing good results, the students were finally allowed to go home. Mara's parents welcomed their daughter home with great joy. Mara was very happy to finally be back home after so long. However, she and her friends are still required to take the blue pill and will be monitored by the medical team regularly. Schools were reopened and teaching and learning activities resumed normal operations. Even though the situation seems fine, there are still students who are still paranoid and wear personal protective clothing when they go to school. Dr. Rolanda then visited the school to conduct counseling and check the condition of the students. She seemed happy because the students looked healthy and excited. She then asked one of the students to come to the front of the class and demonstrate a pose. But suddenly the mysterious explosion incident happened again. And what's even more terrifying is that these incidents happened in a row in the near future. Everyone immediately rushed out of the classroom. Mass panic ensued throughout the school. The students were running in the corridor screaming hysterically. Dylan tries to help Mara escape from the crowd of students. The mysterious explosion incidents continue to occur as Mara and Dylan try to save themselves. This incident can happen to anyone. There is no sign and no one knows when and who will explode next. Mara, who had been separated from Dylan, finally managed to find the exit and met him again outside the school. But unlucky, Dylan, who was very happy to meet Mara again and confess his love, had to die because he suddenly exploded. Mara, who was devastated by Dylan's death, became depressed and had no purpose in life. She no longer knows how to deal with a mysterious deadly epidemic that has killed Dylan and her friends. The entire FBI investigation and research of the medical team was in vain because the mysterious explosion incident got out of control and happened in a row. Feeling that her life has no meaning anymore, she often drinks and doesn't care about her body condition and stays away from her parents. Even she tries to avoid Tess, who intends to leave town and live in a bungalow on the beach. Tess invites Mara to go with her, but she refuses. Mara accidentally reads an opinion on her school's online forum calling herself the Covington Curse because she is the only living eyewitness to every mysterious explosion incident that happens to her friends. Everyone avoided her and always looked suspiciously at her. Because of this, she is hiding in her school, which is now closed by the government and will soon be demolished. At her school, in a quiet and alone situation, Mara contemplates the possibility of that opinion because she was there, watching her friends mysteriously explode. She then began to think that she was the cause of the mysterious explosion incident that occurred at her school. After contemplating everything, Mara finally returned home and apologized to her parents for all her actions that troubled them. She then confided heart to heart with her mother, who advised her to continue living and live it well. Mara then determined to move on after experiencing a series of the most horrific incidents in her life. She packed her things and took over Dylan's van. She planned to leave the house to calm down and forget all this had happened. Her parents support her decision and wish the best for their child. With hope and enthusiasm bubbling in her chest, Mara begins to drive towards her new life. The film ends with Mara telling the audience to enjoy life while they still can. This film alludes to the phenomenon of spontaneous human combustion caused by the excess energy contained in the human body. This phenomenon was found in 200 cases in the last 3 centuries. Interestingly, the average victim of this phenomenon is alcoholics. This film tells that Mara and her friends are typically young people who often party and drink. This film is a harsh satire for alcoholics, especially among young people who think that youth is a time to spend without thinking of themselves.